Hello everyone, my name is Josh and welcome to Musical Mondays. And today we're going to be focusing on something that I actually grew up with, and this was actually one of the first musicals I ever saw. And this one is called, I'll actually sum it up by a single quotable line. Please, sir, I want some more. More? I'm going to be talking about Oliver today. And this musical is actually very interesting. It's actually based on a novel by Charles Dickens, and I'm a huge fan of Charles Dickens as well. So a lot of his books are kind of a very interesting combination. Most of them are very quirky, most of them are very fun, most of them are really dark, and a lot of them are very kind of all over the place in regards to tone. So a lot of the time, it is a very difficult. He's a very particularly difficult writer to pin down when it comes to which one of his books do you adapt for a musical. And it's not like Stephen King where he has two adaptations to his name, Carrie and Misery. But I do personally think there's a reason why Charles Dickens' novels aren't really all that easy to translate into a musical, because a lot of the time they are very dark and they deal with a lot of heavy subjectivity. You could make literally anything out of Charles Dickens' stories. You could make a musical out of any of his books. But the problem is you could, should you though? And that's one of the things I did definitely say. And I even touched on this in my talking about adaptations in my talking about adaptations review, where I talked about Avatar: The Last Airbender and Dune. Yes, you could do a live action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but should you? Because it kind of takes away the fine art of animation. And of course, even though a lot of people do love animation, and when it's strictly for children, it's equally as well loved, well cherished. But sometimes it can be used for adults or used to explore much more grown up themes, not necessarily drugs, alcohol, sex, or violence, but other things as well. So that was the thing that I talked about in that particular video. But here it's kind of the same thing. Like, yes, you could adapt one of Charles Dickens' less known novels, but should you though? Because it's going to feel very weird if you're watching an adaptation of Great Expectations, for example, and immediately Pip bursts into song when he sees, the convict Magwitch. It just feels very weird. Like there's certain things that you don't give the musical treatment, and you have to rethink about it before you do, and that's something that really is important. That's why only two of his more popular books, Oliver Twist and A Christmas Carol, have been adapted into a musical. The latter half has actually been adapted twice into a musical. So the one that I remember and I remember most fondly is the Albert Finney version, Scrooge, which I really loved. I loved the songs in that, like "Thank you very much, thank you very much. It's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me," and things like that. I love it. It's so wonderful, and I love the song December the 25th because it just gets you into that Christmassy mood. But that's going to be for Christmas. So, and I've got something special planned for my Christmas set of videos. So stay tuned to that. And yeah, on with Oliver though. So the musical basically starts off with the song "Food, glorious food, white wood pudding and custard. While we're in the mood, egg, sausage, and mustard." I don't even know if I've got that right. But yeah, it's that song, and it's pretty damn a good opener. It's not like Grease, where it pretty much just opens with this very romantic setting, and then we jump straight into the title sequence, which has a catchy song to it. We open right away with the "Food, Glorious Food" song, and this is a great song because it's a song that really makes you hungry when you're watching it, but then you're also kind of thinking to yourself, oh my god, all the things that we take for granted, like buying food for ourselves, elves getting food at restaurants and having the money to pay for food, these kids don't have that luxury, and it's really horrible. They have to eat gruel, and it's basically like porridge or sort of like a really kind of stale looking ready break looking thing. It's really awful. And I absolutely love the workhouse setting. I love how it literally shows, it doesn't hold back in showing how cruel the workhouse can be. Like, say, for example, there's a scene at the very start, literally as the credits open, where these three boys are literally propelling a mixer or a washing machine type contraption with their feet. So they're literally walking on it, and they're walking over the boards, trying not to trip and fall into it. And that's such a dark image, but you really do get that sense of, this is a very cruel world where children aren't treated as sensible, innocent people to be cared for. They're treated as commodities, something to kind of use as a tool to get stuff done, as opposed to, treated as anything resembling innocence or anything resembling care. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 video, or its use in Pink Floyd The Wall, which I thought was very funny. Like, I like the idea that, I half expected Pink Floyd to just burst in and say, "We don't need no education." It's so good. But yeah, I really do love this opening sequence, and it is really funny, and it is really kind of, showing how sad it is at the same time. And it's just such a great sequence overall. Just having it open with the kids just walking down the stairs in a line of 2x2, and they're just singing about, these wonderful things like cold warm sausage and mustard, peas puddings, and saveloys. Always, they want to experience indigestion, which, if you've eaten a lot, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, although it does sound like a good idea when you're poor and you can't afford much to buy a slice of bread. So it really kind of makes you think, oh, well, that's fine. If you want to experience indigestion, that's perfectly fine, but I wouldn't recommend it. Like I've experienced indigestion before, and it really isn't nice. It's really uncomfortable. So yeah, aside from that, we're introduced to the workhouse, and what basically is the setup for the song Food, Glorious Food, is that the kids are working hard. They're literally working their fingers to the bone. They are tired. They are living in rags. And when they do eat, they only eat gruel, and bread and gruel. So it's very kind of stale looking bread with gruel and various other things, whilst the governors and even Mr. Bumble and his wife, they indulge in these great feasts in the other room. There's even a moment where they actually jump up on the window. They start singing, when it hits the chorus, food, glorious food, magical food, glorious food. It starts to, they're looking through the window and they're jumping up and down, and they catch the eye of Mr. Bumble, who just says, "Oi, go back to your seats," and things like that. And I love that. So yeah, I absolutely adore that opening number. But it's really funny, but it's also really tragic as well, because all these kids are essentially eating gruel while their masters are eating, chicken fresh out of the oven, Brussels sprouts, stuffing balls, all these sorts of things, all these delicious things, sausages and things like that. These really juicy and really wonderful things. It's just made my mouth water just thinking about it. I've already had breakfast, so yeah, it's one of those things that even if when I have nice food, I'm always thinking to myself, oh, that sounds really nice. But we start with this, and then we get the opening number ends, and Mr. Bumble and his wife step out of the room, and they address the masses, they address their children, and they engage in a prayer, and then they go forward to eating it. They eat the gruel, and it must not be very nice. And I just kept thinking to myself, there's this one incident where one of the table decides to draw straws as to who wants to ask for seconds, because that's all they get for the rest of the day. Like, they don't get anything else. They don't get, pudding or, a 3-course meal. Like a lot of people, they're lucky if they just have the gruel. So yeah, one of them decides to play a game of draw straws and see who gets the chance to draw the short straw to ask for more. And sadly, Oliver gets the chance to draw the short straw this time round. So he gets to go up and ask for more, and that iconic sequence where he just goes, "Please, sir, may I want some more?" And Mr. Bumble just has this really kind of stern look on his face, like, "What?" and things like that. I thought, yeah, I'd be shitting myself too if that was me. Like yeah, he's a real intimidating figure, but as the story goes on, you realise he's actually kind of a bit of a pushover, and he is when it comes to his wife anyway. And I actually really like that that dichotomy at the end. But moving along with the plot, they sing the song Oliver, Oliver, never before has a boy wanted more. And it's so good. I love it. It's a fantastic moment. But it also showcases how the children of the workhouse are kind of douchey as well, because they quite happily throw Oliver to the wolves. Even the people who offered to, draw short straws or draw straws are now disowning Oliver and saying, give him the worst punishment imaginable. Give him the cane. Give him, all sorts of different things. Give him punishments. Throw him into an attic without any banister. Throw him into a stairway without any banister, and then feed him with cockroaches served in a canister, which is a great song, and which is a great moment. But it just kind of makes you think, you're going to feed him cockroaches? Ick. Like, feed him with cockroaches. It just kind of feels like, oh, that's just horrible. It makes me think of the scene in Creepshow, the segment in Creepshow called They're Creeping Up On You, where they just all start crawling everywhere. I'm going to go off on a tangent in a minute, so I'm just going to move on very quickly. So they decide to take Oliver to a funeral parlour, which is where I've forgotten his name, but he was in a show called Rising Damp, and he was in a special of Steptoe & Son. I've forgotten his name, and he's in those ads with Joan Collins. I've forgotten his name, but he kind of sounds like, if they were to do a film version of his life, this particular actor's life, who plays The Undertaker, he'd be played by Ralph Fiennes. That's what I can imagine. In the comments, could you let me know who that actor is, please? Oh my goodness, I'm blanking. First, the name of Boromir's brother escapes me now. Faramir was the name of Boromir's brother, so yeah, that was something that I realised too late. Like, damn, that was it. But yeah, he goes to this Undertaker, and they decide to give him a job overseeing the funeral, leading the procession of the carriage all the way to the church and things like that. So it starts off like that, but Oliver is one of those characters who he's very kind of content in his job. He gets to do cheap labours and stuff like that, but for the most part, he's well fed, and he's, judging by the sound of what they give him, he's very well fed, and he's very kind of, okay and everything. He's still horrible. Like, he still has to clean and brush and, do all sorts of things that kids shouldn't have to do, and he's really horribly mistreated by the assistants. And one of them literally just calls him Workhouse. He doesn't have a name, according to him. He's literally terrible. And there's this really great scene where he literally starts talking badly about his mother. And literally he goes from being this sweet, very tender-voiced character to saying things like, "What did you say?" and things like that. And I thought, wow, he literally went from 0 to 11 in like 5 seconds. And I love that moment, because he literally gives him a piece of his mind. Like, I thought, yeah, don't mess with Oliver. Like, he will F you up. But yeah, that was a great sequence. And the fact that they literally he's so angry that they literally can't control him. They literally have to put him in a coffin to keep him, quiet. But it's really funny that everyone's intimidated by Mr. Bumble. And there's even a scene where he goes, "Do you know who this voice is, Oliver? Do you not fear it, Oliver? Do you not tremble when I speak, Oliver?" And things like that. And he goes, "Yes, I do." But he says it in kind of like a very fed up, very kind of pouty kind of way, like, "Yes, like, yes, I do." And you could also imagine him crossing his arms like that, like a really angry toddler kind of thing. And it's hilarious. It's a great scene. And yeah, it really is a great moment. It's very dark. It's very Dickensian, the scenes in the funeral home. But what really makes it work is the head Undertaker, who's played by that actor whose name escapes me. He's really funny in this, and his scenes, they are funny when you're a child, but when you know who the guy is and you know his work and all the things that he's done before and since this, it really makes it even funnier. Like, a lot of his performances, like, there's even a scene where he comes home drunk and he says, "Who's in that coffin? That coffin's not supposed to be, used until tomorrow." And he goes, "Yeah, it's being used because Mr. Bumble's sitting on Oliver," and things like that. And he goes, "Oh, great, we must all sit on Oliver," and things like that. Yeah, only when you're drunk you say stuff like that, and say it with a straight face. Yeah, but he's a great character, and there's even a point where when Oliver gets taken away, he literally he calls to his wife, like, "Wife," and he goes, "What?" And he goes, it's really quite comfortable. And he's just sitting in the coffin. Oh yeah, I love that moment. But yeah, moving on with the plot. He gets thrown into a basement area, or sort of like, a sort of basement area, and he is going to be in for a world of punishment, but we don't know what that punishment is, because he escapes before he is able to find out. And the song that he sings is Where Is Love? And this song is a great song because it basically shows you how alone Oliver is in this moment, and how he feels like he's lost his family. He didn't really have a family to speak of when he first got started, so he kind of just feels like, oh, okay, this is where it's going. And because this video is getting on quite a bit, it's now over 15 minutes, and I do want to cut my videos fairly short. This is going to be part 1 of my Musical Mondays segment on Oliver, the musical. And if you want to find out more, or if you want to, have a say in what other musicals I do, because I'm not just doing films, I'm going to do TV shows as well, and video games, whichever medium uses the medium of the musical and has a structure where it's song after song after song, then I will quite happily do that as well. But I'll also be doing other videos. Let's say, for example, I will be doing a video on sitcom comforts. I will be doing 2 videos on that. I'll be doing a whimsical and interesting musings on a book that I want to review, and I'll be also doing my regular whimsical and interesting musings on Avatar when I get through the first series. But I will be doing my review because I've got a lot to say about it. It's such a great show. I love it. It's such a great show. It makes me think, all that time when I was watching it and all my other friends were watching it when I was back at school, I wish I was watching it then, because it really does give you that sense of, nostalgia, strangely enough. So to me, even though I didn't necessarily watch it when I was a child, so it really kind of gives you that feeling of, oh yeah, that's actually very nice, that I can feel a sense of nostalgia towards something that I didn't actually watch before. And so yeah, I'm going to stop the video here, and this is part 1 of my Musical Mondays review, and look forward to part 2 soon after. I'm actually re-recording it straight after this video so that I can get them all out at once. And then I will be doing my sitcom comforts video on Friends. And I did speak a little bit about Friends when I did my sitcom comforts on 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps, but I wanted to give it its own video because I feel like I'm a huge fan of Friends, and I really did want to give, a full video towards it. I will be doing other sitcoms like Frasier and Everybody Loves Raymond, and whichever musical you want me to whichever sitcom you want me to look at as well. Like, you guys have a say in much of what I do as I do, so I'd love to hear your thoughts about what sitcom you want me to cover for that particular segment. And if you want me to cover any more musicals, TV show musicals, or musical episodes, please let me know which ones you'd want me to talk about and actually give further details on. So this has been Josh with Musical Mondays, and I hope you're having a very good day. Take care.